What's going on, everyone? Thank you for listening to another episode of Bourbon with Friends, wherever you are in the world. We really appreciate you listening. And today we have a very special guest with us. He is the long snapper for the Miami Dolphins and was also on the 2019 LSU National Championship team, which I would argue to say I am not an LSU fan. That might be one of the greatest college football teams ever. Maybe not the greatest. Maybe not the greatest. As a Miami Hurricane fan, I would have to put the 2001 Hurricanes, but I'd say that would be a hell of a fucking game if they played together. Blak Ferguson, what's going on, buddy?
Hey man, thank you for having me on. I'm honored. This is I wear the Bourbon with Friends merch all the time, and
it's awesome, man.
I do get a lot of questions about it, and I'm proud to be a first time guest, hopefully a recurring guest.
Oh, anytime you want to come on, man. Like,
especially with Paul.
Yeah.
Paul is a Miami Dolphins guy.
Yes.
That's his team.
Come on. And it sounds like you're supposed to be a Miami Dolphins guy as well.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be, but
he fucking killed you right off the bat.
Yeah, listen. My G-men had a great season this year, and we have some good things cooking. But
Dayball's doing good stuff in New Jersey.
In New Jersey. So it's funny. The only time I've been to the Meadowlands is I've never been to a Giants football game. I went there for WrestleMania a few years ago, and it was the coolest thing I've ever been to.
Was it the new stadium? Oh, yeah. Was that the one The Rock did with, like, Ronda Rousey?
No, Ronda Rousey was the main event.
That was Levi's.
That was San Francisco.
Yeah.
Good memory. Great memory, actually. But this one was the only WrestleMania where there was no Undertaker. Now, how effed up is that? Really? You go to WrestleMania to see the Undertaker.
I tell you
knew
what,
I was coming.
I'm admittedly not a huge like pro wrestling person. I know enough to get by. I know the Undertaker. I know the Edge, Rey Mysterio,
Edge.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I okay?
Of course.
Chris Crybaby Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
I know The Rock used to, but what I will say about it is that the only person that I really thought was super cool and just was a total bad dude was The Undertaker.
Yes.
Okay.
My friends would have it on growing up, at their house or whatever. I didn't really watch it, but when they would have it on, it was The Undertaker was that dude, and so for them not to have him on, that's.
I remember
that's why you go. That's why you go to the event.
Right, so you feel my pain. That's I grew up an Undertaker guy.
Triple H.
Triple H. Triple H.
Is he one? Is he another one that?
He's a legend. He basically runs the creative aspect.
Yeah, because he married Stephanie McMahon.
He married Stephanie. Yeah, but I did see a class. So Triple H's entrance music is "The Game" by Motorhead. Rest in peace, Lemmy, who was their lead singer. He died a few years ago, but I saw his entrance live. He had a no holds barred match with Batista, who's another legend. Dave Batista from Guardians of the Galaxy plays Drax. So there were a lot of cool matches, and actually John Cena returned in that WrestleMania, and he wasn't John Cena. Back in the day, he was someone. His gimmick was the Doctor of Thugonomics. He'd come out and start rapping, wear big chains and jerseys.
Thugonomics.
And he came out and he rapped as the Doctor of Thugonomics. So it was a cool. And Hulk Hogan came out. He returned. And we saw Brock Lesnar. So it was a cool WrestleMania. I don't mean to diverge off our topics here, but the main point is I'm a Giants fan, and I've never been to see a Giants game. But if I had to pick my favorite running back of all time, I'd definitely pick Larry Zonka.
I own a Larry Zonka jersey. I've worn it a couple of times, to the stadium, on game day and stuff. I obviously am not old enough to have watched him.
Yeah,
but he's a legend, and he still comes to the facility, and it's Larry Zonka's here. You see Dan Marino every day. Dan Marino is he's on staff I can't remember his
he's either president of football operations or something like that.
He's like one of the front office staff. So you see Dan Marino every day, but then like Larry Zonka shows up, you're like, whoa,
wow,
like,
walking
there's
legend.
some real it's really cool when he shows up. He's spoken to the team before, and that was pretty special.
So today is actually, it's funny that you mentioned Marino. Today is the day 23 years ago that Marino retired.
Oh, really?
I said that, and then I went, holy shit, I'm fucking old. I was. It was interesting because when I was a kid growing up, I knew nothing but Dan Marino. And I have a Dan Marino jersey. You know, I remember watching him as a kid. I saw Marino rush for 11 of his 91 career rushing yards. Right? 11-yard scramble. And it was against the Atlanta Falcons. And it was like a 38-34 game. I'll never, like, Irving Fryer caught a touchdown pass with like 30 seconds left. It was amazing. I still remember the game. But like it's interesting because I sat with one of my friends and Marino was behind me. That's still like the guy for me because that's who I grew up. You know,
Right.
If you're a 49ers fan with Montana or a Packers fan with Favre, like they were like the first group of OG quarterbacks that led to I think who you see now, like the type of quarterback, the gunslingers. And it just it was so awesome to watch. Like, and I don't know if you've ever watched any of like Marino's old clips from like the 80s and some of the crazy like trick throws that he used to do. Stupid. I mean, the guy was amazing.
The only one I know of is the fake spike, the infamous fake spike. That was Marino, right?
Yeah, well, he does like a behind the back pass, and I saw it from like I think it was the 84, 85, throwing it to like it was either Duper or Clayton.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the and he puts a behind the back pass 40 yards down the field perfectly in stride.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. It's definitely cool having him around the facility every single day. Like he's always out at practice. And then when people come to the facility and they're like, oh my God, that's Dan Marino. You're like,
yeah, whatever.
He's just another guy. He's obviously not, but
my dad literally just texted me, and I said, "Hey, by the way, I'm doing a podcast today with the Dolphins long snapper. Thought you might want to know." He goes, "Hey, tell him my cat when I was growing up, his name was Zonka." So there you go.
Amazing.
That's what I was saying before the podcast. Amazing. My dad has always been a. My dad's always been a.
I like your dad so much more now. So, Blake, talk to us a little bit. We can talk about football and go down that road all crazy. But talk to us about, obviously, you're a big whiskey fan. We're drinking right now because you have a Four Roses single barrel strength. I poured that. I don't know if Connor poured that or not. I don't even know if Connor knew what we were drinking.
That's
fine. I poured this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, single barrel. Yeah. So we poured this. When did you get into whiskey? You know, when did that kind of hit in your life and you knew that you were like, this is the shit for me?
Yeah. So I actually didn't start drinking like bourbon, being into bourbon at all until I was in the league, which I was drafted in 2020. And I had a teammate who he's currently a free agent, but I'm hoping that we'll re-sign him. His name's Clayton Fedulum, and he spent 4 years, his previous 4 years to 2020 in Cincinnati. Played for the Bengals his first 4 years in the league. 2020, he signs as a free agent with the Dolphins. I get drafted by the Dolphins. He and I meet. We're both playing a lot of special teams, and he's like, hey, he's like, he was reaching out to me as a rookie player. He's like, you want to go get a drink, like hang out, whatever, get some dinner, just get to know each other a little bit. And for me as a rookie, I'm like, yes, like absolutely. Like I'm trying to learn everything that I can about, what it's like being a professional football player. And so I'm going to, I have an older brother who's in the league, but I want to get to know other guys and learn from not just my brother's experiences.
He's not cool. He doesn't drink whiskey and he plays for Buffalo.
No, he's a beer guy. We can get to that in a second.
You forgot the worst part. He plays for Buffalo.
Plays for Bills, yeah. That's bad enough.
It is.
So we go out and we get a drink, and I'm drinking like an IPA or something, and he's like, you drink bourbon or like you like whiskey at all? And I was like, no, I don't really like it. The only really whiskey that I had ever had was when my roommate and I would go to the casino in college. Every time we would, like, before we would get in our Uber to go to the casino, we would shoot Jack Daniels, like one shot of Jack Daniels as we're walking out of the door, and that was like all I knew. And I was like, this is gross. This is disgusting.
I hurt for you.
I hate this.
Ugh.
And so, like, even the smell of whiskey was repulsive to me.
I can understand why.
And he was like, so Clayton, I told him that, and he was like, just like try some good stuff, like just give it a shot. And having spent 4 years in Cincinnati previous to coming to Miami, he was obviously right in the heart of bourbon country, knew all the good brands and all the best bourbon. And so he kind of shared some of that with me and let me try some of the good stuff that sort of turned me on to bourbon now. But after that season was kind of when I started sort of like trying new things, picking up, allocated bottles here and there, started learning what like allocation is. And like, there's stuff that you can't find at liquor stores. That was like a crazy concept to me. And so then it kind of became like a search, like the hunt for allocated bourbon is like something that for me is really fun. Like
it's an addiction, isn't it?
You find something in a liquor store somewhere that is allocated or a really good bottle, whatever, and it's like at retail, like at MSRP, there is like no better feeling. And I've won the national championship before. So that's sort of how I got into it. I have way more bourbon now than I ever probably should have, but I think,
bro, I showed you how much is here.
Can probably say that.
No, you never have too much. It's like saying you don't have enough titles. All right, like you can never win too many titles. You can never have too much whiskey.
That's right. It's funny because like people will come over to my house, and I like to host a lot, have friends over, do bonfires, whatever, and people are like, "Are you ever going to be able to drink that much bourbon?" And I'm like, "No."
You mind your fucking business?
I'm like, "No, I'm never ever going to be able to drink this much bourbon."
But I'm going to try.
But I'm going to try.
Let me introduce you to my friend Paul over here.
Yeah. But I do like having guys over to, try different things. I like being able to share good bottles that I like, tasting and just being able to sort of have that community aspect of bourbon, because I feel like that was sort of why bourbon was created. It was created to be enjoyed with other people. It was created to be enjoyed, with friends and, just kicking back.
Bourbon
time.
With friends? Really?
Yeah, it's weird. Shocker.
Wow. It's almost like that's
you guys named your podcast after the creation of bourbon.
Almost. It's just fucking weird.
But yeah, so I have way more than I will ever need, but I do enjoy pulling some good bottles out of the collection every once in a while.
Blake, really? Are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
This is just the upstairs whiskey. I have like 190 bottles.
Yeah.
Just upstairs. There's another 100 downstairs.
I'm not quite there. I'm touching 100 total right now, maybe 120. But
will you please come to Kentucky sometimes and drink mine?
Say it again.
Please come to Kentucky sometime and drink mine.
Yes,
that's fine.
I would be happy to. But I am currently working on my speakeasy up in my house right now. That will become my bourbon storage and my bourbon enjoyment room. So it's not like out in your face as you walk into my kitchen, because it's currently just like all over the place.
So, and don't say 4-0s. Are you drinking the small batch or the single barrel limited?
It's a store pick barrel strength, single barrel.
Okay, so it's a single barrel strength. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't say that, because no one can ever find that. What is like, talk about allocated? That is I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Where
do you live?
I'm in Rhode Island, so can see some things like if I can go out to like
he can definitely get stuff that we aren't going to get.
Yeah, like I can go out to there's a town or whatever in Rhode Island called Newport, Rhode Island, and it's very, lack of a better term, it's very rich, lots of money, and I could go down there and buy a pappy for $2,500 5 days a week if I really wanted to, but that's the type of people they'll put that allocated stuff on the shelf for secondary pricing, which I don't respect at all.
Right, no, not at all.
But what would you say if you had to pick 3 whiskeys, not necessarily bourbons, but whiskeys that are your go-tos? That's why I'm saying don't pick the Four Roses single barrel strength, because that's nothing, like, you're not going to find that. Something that you can relatively easy find.
Something that you can find.
Like it doesn't have to be like a Wild Turkey 101, but something that's nothing.
When you're just drinking by yourself, right? Like, these are my go-tos that I like to have, like 3 or 4 on the shelf because I know I want to drink that. Not when people come over, kind of a thing.
So, and this is hard because I am at the point now where I like really only like higher proof stuff, which is generally the hardest stuff to find. So when I started out, my favorite was Weller 12, and like I've got a couple of Weller 12s.
You set the bar real high right off the bat.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like so we'll start over. Weller Red Label is a little bit generally easier to find, 107 proof. Yeah. That's quality, especially their store picks. The Weller 107 store picks, phenomenal. Eagle Rare, phenomenal. Let's see. So it's weird because I'm in Atlanta, and Four Roses single barrel picks are generally easy to come by if you like, because in the Atlanta area there's a ton of the big box.
Not the barrel strength. Not the box strength. The single barrels are easy to find, but not barrel strength.
Barrel strength. That's what I'm saying. They're generally like you can find them. Mm-hmm. I picked up probably 6 of the store picks this year.
You can find those. You can find those in Kentucky too, pretty easily. Like Total Wine has them.
The big box stores, they push a lot of product, and then Four Roses says, "Hey, you're like one of our top 15 sellers in the state of Georgia. Come up and pick a barrel." Let me pull up because I keep an inventory in my notes.
Smart man.
I actually tried to do that, and then I lost.
It's not up to date.
I lost count.
It's not up to date, but it's got pretty much.
Well, so we have Eagle Rare right now, Weller 107. Those are 2 legit ones. Yep. Weller 107 is one of my favorite pours of all time, so I agree with that 100%.
So one that I really have enjoyed drinking is one that you may or may not have heard of. It's from a distillery here in Atlanta, actually, and the distillery is called American Spirit Works, and their bourbon is called the Fiddler. Have y'all ever heard of the Fiddler?
I have, yes.
The tall bottle looks like Eagle Rare, like silhouette bottle. Mm-hmm. So they actually in the fall came out with, or I guess it was maybe last summer, came out with one called Chin Music, which is a baseball term, and it was supposed to be
or a Shawn Michaels term if we're saying with WWE. That's his sweet chin music. Yeah.
So it was supposed to be an Atlanta Braves celebratory batch for the World Series, and so I picked up a couple of those because I actually one of my good friends here in Atlanta is a distiller there. And so he lets me try all kinds of cool stuff at their distillery, and so that one was actually one of my favorites that I picked up in the last probably year or so. And then they actually this winter came out with a Chin Music rye that was really, really good. I like rye. I'm not like super high rye guy. But like if I'm sitting around a bonfire, I'll definitely pour rye whiskey.
Have you had the Sagamore Double Oak yet?
No, I haven't had any of the Sagamore stuff before.
Buddy, that'll convert you to rye real fucking fast.
Yeah, it's really good.
Sagamore Double Oak is
or what we just drank.
So is it a double oak? It's
or that
bourbon or double oak?
No, it's a double oak rye. So it's double barreled. It's a double barreled rye. And actually, Knob Creek actually does a double barreled rye that's also really good. But the Sagamore, it's about $55. It's a blue label. I think I got it. Actually, I gotta try this. I'm getting into port. I actually need to pour this, and it's this is what the bottle looks like, but it's a double barrel. I'm actually gonna pour a little bit of this because I'm really getting into port, and I'm not ashamed to say it.
You are so old, bro.
I just had a 20-year-old tawny port. Oh my God!
Really?
And so I want to try this because I haven't had a port whiskey since I've had that, and I kind of just want to see where the difference is. But if you ever get a chance to get like a 20-year-old tawny port, it will actually enhance your whiskey palate as well.
That is true. Paul, how many times have we had someone on the podcast that's younger than me?
He's not that much younger than you.
I'm 25.
I mean, he's a year
Connor
younger than me.
just turned 26. He's not a year younger. By the way, I
turned 26 in September, so
this port finished rye, and all Sagamore does is rye, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
This port finished rye, I didn't like it when I first tried it. Now that I'm starting to gain an affinity for port, it's fucking amazing.
And you've already had 3 pours.
Didn't they? Don't they do Midwinter Night's Dram in port? Don't they finish it in port barrels?
It is. Well, there are some that's French oak.
Depends on the axe.
Yeah, and
okay, so it's different each time they.
What are we on? Act 9, Scene 10 now?
I think it was 10-1.
Act 10.
10, Scene 1.
Yeah, finish in port barrels right there.
Yeah. Okay. I picked up.
Sometimes it's French oak.
Picked up 2 of those this year, but those are my first ones. Really good. Really enjoyed those.
Okay, yeah. So Act 9, Scene 5, finish in French oak port barrels. So yeah, I suppose they're always port barrels. You're right. It's hard to keep track because I just typically. So you want to hear a funny story about midwinters?
Sure.
I live in a downtown area. That's where my apartment is, and I walk down to this new bar around the corner, 30-second walk from my apartment. And I walk in, and they have a pretty good whiskey selection. They have a 107, they have a Buffalo Trace, they have an Eagle Rare, and I see a tall High West bottle sitting in the back. It's Midwinter Night's Dram, Act 10, so this year's Act, or last year's, I should say. And I go to the guy, I'm like, hey, how much is that High West behind? And he didn't know what I was talking about. I had to basically walk behind the bar and show him, how much is this? It was unopened. And nobody in the bar knew what it was or how much it should have cost. So they straight up asked me, how much should we charge you for this? And I was debating. I was like,
it's a 30-second walk from your apartment, dude. You should have.
Yeah, it's like, no, well, listen to this. So I'm like, you know what? I would say it's about a $12 pour. And they ended up charging $11 for it. So me and my brother Kale would go into this bar, and we basically drank the entire bottle over a few months at $11. And then someone must have done their research, and they wised up, and now it's $25 a pour, which is about what it should be.
Assholes.
So
the owner came in and was like, "All right, what are we doing?
Why is the bottle half gone?"
Yeah. So I was. I mean, when I was getting $11, and I that's usually that's the type of bar where you go there second or third, you don't start at this bar.
Okay.
And so you're already a little bit, you've already had a glass in you. You've already had a glass of whiskey in you. So it's dude, I'm about to get this Midwinter Night's Dram for $11. Leave a few dollar. You end up leaving a $7 tip because you feel bad, and it's I'm living life, and I can just walk 30 seconds home and go to bed. That's amazing.
Blake, I was in Manchester, England, and I had William LaRue Weller for 11 pounds a pour, which is basically $12.50.
Wow.
My buddy and I, so there's half a bottle left. My buddy and I, so my buddy's in the military and stationed in Cambridge, and he was with me, and he's from Kentucky, and we said, take half the bottle, pour it in his, pour it in mine, split the bill down the middle. I paid $60 and drank half of a bottle. Yeah, fourth of a bottle of William LaRue Weller.
Wow. I haven't been quite that lucky. Now, I admittedly, like, I have a hard time finding places with good whiskey selection outside of, well, I guess when I do travel, I have a hard time finding it. Like in Miami, I only live in Miami when I have to be there. I live in Atlanta in the off season. Miami is probably like bottom 5 worst cities in America for bourbon selection at liquor stores and also at restaurants. So like when I go out to a nice restaurant in Miami, you're not finding good bourbon. There's like 2 or 3 restaurants, but they're like super swanky steakhouses that have decent stuff. And so I just stick to my own collection for good pours. And so admittedly, I haven't searched a whole lot for like good pours at low prices. But yeah, I did have some E.H. Taylor barrel proof from this year at a place here in Atlanta. It was like maybe 25 a pour, which is pretty good.
Not bad.
I mean, it's like a $600 bottle right now.
Yeah, just about.
So like
maybe more
on secondary. So I'm cool with paying 25 a pour. And then the guy. So funny enough, I got talking to the bartender the bartender's a big Scotch guy, and so I got talking to him, and he's also big bourbon guy, but mostly Scotch. And so he was like, I asked him, I was like, what do you think is the best? They had a big whiskey selection and like on the wall. And I said, what do you think is the best pour on this wall? And he said the Stag Junior. And
interesting.
And I was like, you think the Stag Junior beats E.H. Taylor barrel proof? Yes. Because in my mind, it doesn't even come close. And I love Stag Junior. I have 2 bottles of it. I actually had a Dolphins fan send me a bottle of Stag Junior.
God, you lucky motherfucker.
Yes. That makes the season worth it. If I got a free bottle of Stag Junior.
I also have another funny story about Stag Junior, but I'm gonna finish the E.H. Taylor barrel proof one. So I'm like, Stag Junior, really? Like, you think that's the best pour on this whole wall? And he was like, yes. He was like 100%. And so he actually poured me like 2 blind, like it was probably this much, maybe a little bit more. He poured 1 barrel proof, 1 Stag Junior, and was like, all right, do it blind. And I picked, I think I did it twice. And I picked E.H. Taylor both times because I know what Stag Junior tastes like. I know
you can't do a barrel proof pour and a not barrel proof pour.
It has an alcohol feel to it. Like
well, you're also talking about something that's 100, but it's also 25, almost 30 proof more than what. I mean, there's no denying.
No, you're the E.H. Taylor barrel proof was 129.5.
Well, wasn't but the Stag was probably like 135, right?
130. It was 132, I think. Something.
That's
it was like 2 or 3 proof away. But I knew what Stag.
It has a musk, right? Like it has like that distinct.
100%.
Yes.
I don't know. To me, it's just, and it sounds dumb to say it, but it is an alcohol smell. Like the on the tongue, it is just strong. It is too distinct not to know exactly what it is.
Fully agree.
And my last Stag Junior story. So funny enough, I was out of town. I was in Texas visiting my girlfriend, and there was a lottery going on at a store about an hour outside of Atlanta, about an hour from my house, from my parents, who are about 10 minutes up the road. And so I somehow get my dad and my mom to both jump in the car and drive an hour to this place out in like way West Georgia. to this bourbon lottery, and they stand in line at like 6:30 in the morning to get a raffle ticket that they're not even guaranteed. They're there with like 200 other people, not guaranteed anything. And so my dad ended up getting a Four Roses store pick from the store.
Solid.
Amazing. My mom didn't get anything, so she's pissed that she's like, I don't even what? My mom didn't even drink. She's like, why am I?
That's a good mom.
Shit.
Good. Like, I just stood in line for nothing. No, she would have done it by herself if my dad hadn't been available. But one of my other buddies went with them and got a Stag Junior store pick, which I've never had a Stag Junior store pick.
They're around. They're hard to find, but they're around.
And
yeah.
There's a store here in Atlanta that, like, when they get their Stag Junior store pick, they just like put it out on the shelf. They don't tell anybody. They don't do social media.
That's how it should be.
Release. They just put it out, and when it's gone, it's gone. But that was the only other place that I had heard about doing a Stag Junior store pick. And he gets one. And before he can even check out in the line, so he gets the bottle, because the tickets were assigned to specific bottles. So it's not like you got to pick, okay, I got the first winning ticket, I get the Pappy 23 or whatever.
Right.
It was assigned. So you look at your ticket and you look up on the board and you see what you're assigned to. So his was the Stag Junior store pick. He turns around with the bottle in hand, and there's a guy standing there, and he goes, hey, do you want this CYPB for your Stag Junior store pick? And
no, I don't.
To me, just take the two bourbons out of it.
Shut up, Siri.
Yeah, I know. She's listening to me. Take your opinion of bourbon and your preferences out of this. Think about the value of both of those bottles. You're talking about a difference of probably $200 to $300 on secondary market.
Probably.
He was like
way more than that.
Yes, 100%. He doesn't even drink Stag Junior.
UIPB is probably going for more just because it's way more rare.
Yeah. And so he was like, absolutely, 100% yes. And so he ended up scoring a CYPB that day.
Do you like it?
CYPB? Yeah, I think it's good. It's lower proof than I prefer to drink now.
It's 90 proof, I think.
You would have loved that store pick way more. Like the thing that you find out after the fact. And Connor did this with the full proof of Weller. Weller is actually really good in the aspect that they did a lot of stuff.
I don't have full proof.
And you tried a full proof.
When?
Was it you tried that
I have a couple of Weller full proof store picks.
It was a full proof you tried.
They're phenomenal.
That TikTok video you did.
TikTok? Which TikTok?
I don't know, where you tried the full proof and you said you didn't like it.
Oh, no, that was Weller's single barrel. And that was given to me. I didn't buy that.
Their single barrel. See, I like their single barrel. You didn't like it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but for $900, absolutely
it definitely isn't a $900 bottle.
The prices of whiskey is stupid. I have a question. Have you tried this?
No. Irish.
If you find it.
Irish and bourbon?
Yeah, so it's a blend. The guy who's doing it used to be the master distiller for Jameson. And now he's doing a Keeper's Heart, and they're sourcing stuff out of Ireland, and they're distilling their own distillate for bourbon, and it's pretty fucking good.
So I know we've kind of gotten off track a little bit, but I'm gonna give you my favorite. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
There's no track here, Blake.
There's a double barrel bourbon that came out this year that is my favorite bourbon of the entire year. Do you have any?
Do I want to guess?
Do you have any inkling of
if you say, is it Old Elk?
No.
Fuck.
It came out this year, Blake?
In 23 or 22?
So this I think it was just this year that they did the double barrel, but it is one of the premier bourbons in like every year that they do it.
Hold on. Hold on. I don't mean for there to be dead space for those listening, but
I'll edit it out. It's fine.
And
it came out in 23?
20. It was end of 22.
and it's a bourbon.
Yep.
Double barrel. Premiere every year it comes out.
Think Heaven Hill.
Okay, I'm thinking Heaven Hill.
You're not going to say the Evan Williams.
No.
Evan Williams doesn't have a double barrel, do they?
Heaven Hill, not Evan Williams. I can't think of anything
it's
Heaven
not
Hill puts out that's
McKenna.
a double barrel.
It's not Elijah Craig.
Nope.
It's not Larceny.
No,
It's not Mellow Corn.
Their C922 was really good.
Yep, I agree.
Heaven's Door?
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
Heaven's Door is not Heaven Hill, I don't think.
Parker's Heritage.
My brother just tried that yesterday.
Dude.
My brother literally just tried that yesterday. He said it was fantastic.
We had a.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to find that shit here.
No. So we had a sick tasting at my house back in it was the end of January.
Right here,
And
see?
Yes. We've put down about half of that bottle of Parker's Heritage that I was able to pick up. But we literally had a Pappy 15, a Pappy 12. We had a CYPB. Parker's beat all of them. This year's Parker,
I believe it.
was unfreaking
Parker's-
real. It was like a 132.5 proof,
Uh-huh.
but it drank like a 115, which is like right in my wheelhouse. I'm like 110 to 120, and it was outstanding.
So I've got a suggestion for you if you like double barreled. Try the Old Elk double wheat.
And see, see,
It's unreal.
I'm not a super like double oaky person. I'm not like I do like some double oak stuff. I don't love the Woodford double oaked.
Well, that's
I
basic.
know a lot
Though.
of people do.
Hot
but, like,
take.
There's some that I do and some that I don't. I don't like go out of my way to search for double oak stuff.
So, and just on staying on the topic of Parker's Heritage, I had their heavy char wheat, which was 2 years ago's release.
Parker's Heritage is also
2021's.
really good if you can find it. By the way, any of them.
Oh, it is.
You're not going to find them.
Parker's Heritage is the BTAC of Heaven Hill. 100%.
Do you want to know what a
delicious.
really underrated whiskey is? By the way, and I'm going to pull it out right now, and I haven't opened this one yet, but Rebel Yell 10.
Ooh, I haven't had that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rebel 10. It's good.
Rebel Yell 10 is very, very good and underrated.
But Blake, I tasted this one time at a whiskey tasting with my buddies, and it was the 2018 Parker's Heritage release. Do you know your Parker's Heritage releases, or do you just?
I don't. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I don't date back super far in the bourbon game. I know more like on the BTAC stuff as far as releases go. Not as much of the Parker's stuff.
So, and that's neither do I. But I drank this and I was like, wow, this is so good. And based on the name, you wouldn't think it's good. It was the 2018 release of Parker's Heritage. It was orange Sirocco finished. So it's finished in orange Sirocco.
Ciroc?
barrels. Sirocco, not Ciroc.
Where's
What's
Sirocco?
I don't know what it is. I think it's like a liqueur.
Interesting.
I'm actually, no, it is a liqueur. Sirocco. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
How do you
it's like an
spell
orange
it?
liqueur.
How do you spell it?
Are you saying
See,
Curacao?
Curacao.
yes, Curacao.
Jesus Christ. He's not from the
Dude,
South,
whatever.
bro.
I
He
don't.
ain't
I
from the
don't
South.
drink-
He don't under.
I don't drink that bullshit.
Yeah,
I don't
'cause
drink
we're-
that shit.
You got people that lived in Florida like understand exactly what you were about to. Jesus Christ.
Yes,
Not Sirocco.
whatever it is.
Curaçao.
Sirocco,
Oh my God.
Pinata, whatever. I don't give a shit. Anyways, My whole point is this.
He just said
this
pinata.
finished Parker's Heritage, this finished bourbon from Parker's Heritage was one of the greatest. No, I don't want to say it. I don't want to hyperbolize this, but it was so good, and that got me into a thing of like, oh, if I can find a Parker's Heritage, I might buy it. I might spend a few hundo, if I can see it. But then I had the double charred wheated, and I was just like, wow, it's game over. This is Parker's Heritage is almost as like gotta buy it for me as a BTAC or even a Pappy Van Winkle. What a great whiskey to try though. For you, like that's game changing.
Yeah, and so it's actually my bottle. I was able to get one down in Florida, and just stroke of luck, I was able to find it, and it far and away beat the Pappy and the CYPB. It was not.
Did you wash it down with a glass of orange Curaçao?
Sirocco.
You're a dumb fuck.
Sirocco, Maraca, whatever. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
What? So you mentioned you got into whiskey because of a teammate, a former teammate you had.
Yep.
How is whiskey, and more specifically bourbon, in an NFL locker room? I would imagine it's not very popular, but
no, it's not. But I've had guys ask me about it because they know that I'm big into bourbon. They're like, I want, like, teach me about bourbon and like how you're supposed to drink it and stuff.
You got Waddle coming up to you. He's like, hey, what BTAC should I get? Yeah, that's pretty sick.
You got guys in the locker room that can afford any bottle of bourbon in the world that they want at secondary prices. But no, I mean, I'm definitely in the vast minority when it comes to drinking bourbon. But there are guys who are interested because I have an interest in it, and like they've asked me to sort of teach them like what the good stuff is and like how to find good stuff. And but yeah, I mean, you've got 2 or 3 guys on the team that even know what a bottle of Eagle Rare is like, and that's
so what's the most
places, but pretty easy to find generally.
What's the most popular drink of choice? Is it beer?
Yeah, I would say beer or tequila, especially in Miami. It's mostly tequila or vodka or rum because it's just easy to drink with like beverages when it's hot outside. Whiskey can be tough. Although when I was in Hawaii last week, we were at an event and one of the drinks was a whiskey sour sort of twist with some other stuff in it. And it was outstanding in it was outdoors, like warm climate, really refreshing. But generally bourbon is, especially if you're drinking it neat, is hard in warm weather climate. Like Miami.
It is.
Oh yeah. That's why they drink scotch over in Scotland. Not because it's just made there, but because it's always cold.
Yeah.
They need something
whiskey's
warm.
great when it's cold.
Over in Isla.
That's right. But yeah, I would say definitely beer, like any kind of light beer is gonna win the crowd over.
Really? So like after I know, right? Boo to that. I mean, I'm not opposed to an ice cold Diet Miller. Don't get me wrong. I had a few myself this weekend on my St. Patrick's Day party. But so actually you say you guys have a good win. Are you reaching for something in particular? Like, do you have something ready to go in the locker room? Do you like get back to your place in Miami and have something ready to pour?
Yeah, unfortunately, per league rules, we're not supposed to, especially in light of recent events, including the Titans, I think, offensive coordinator being arrested for a DUI literally right after they got off the team plane. Like, they were pretty strict about alcohol and stuff on the plane and team travel and stuff. And so
I think what he's saying when you get home, like what are you cranking up when you get home?
When I get home, one of the ones that I like a good win, I would say I ended up with, this is also speaking of stroke of luck. I ended up with 2 bottles of the Four Roses small batch limited edition this year.
Damn.
Both,
Man.
I mean, it is unbelievable bottle. I have not.
How much did you? If you don't mind me asking, how much did you pay from?
So the first one I traded, I had a Russell's Reserve single Rickhouse. So that was, I think, a new release that they put out this past year.
Damn,
someone traded you. Yeah, I know, right?
Holy fuck, you robbed them.
At the time, single Rickhouse was like crazy high.
I know that, but you basically stole that like the Dolphins just stole Jalen Ramsey from the Rams. that trade. When I sent my buddy the text of what we said, he said, no fucking way. That was his response.
So, I traded that for the first bottle. And then I sent my dad over to, my dad is like, when I'm in Miami, he's like my recon guy in Atlanta for like when I find out that there's something good somewhere. I sent him to a store here in Atlanta that was doing a Four Roses single barrel store pick, like one of these, just like, which is still pretty hard to find, but it's $150 bottle. I sent him over there to pick it up, and so he gets one, and he's looking. And my dad doesn't drink bourbon. He had a pour of the Pappy the night that we were doing the tasting or whatever. But generally, he doesn't really drink bourbon much. But he was looking, and he knew that I was a big Four Roses guy. And he's like, "What is that back there?" And they were like, "This is the 2022 limited edition small batch." And he was like, he texts me, he goes, "They have this. Do you want it?" And I was like, yeah. Like, how much is it? And he said he goes, $275. I said,
oh,
yeah. Buy it right now.
I said, the reason I asked.
Funny?
So he got it for $275, and it's, I don't know, $400 something dollar bottle.
See that?
Yeah.
I bought it for $150.
That's great.
In duty free in the Atlanta airport.
Nice.
The reason I ask is because there's currently a Four Roses limited edition, 2022 limited edition small batch at my liquor store right down the road, and they're selling it for $500.
That's a scam. That's a scam. They're doing that in Miami too. There's a store that has 2 of them on the shelf for $500.
Yeah.
And when it first dropped, and it was like secondary was like, I don't know, right at $500 for it. I was like, let me go offer this guy $300 for it and see. I was like, I have $300 cash in my pocket. Let me offer it to him and see what he does. And he said $450 was the lowest he would come on it. I was like, I'm sure when I go back down there in a month and a half or a month and a week, it'll still be sitting on the shelf.
Probably will.
He's got so many Dusties sitting in there that are just, it's a museum because these stores are just scamming. That's
the worst.
Or trying to, they're never going to be purchased. But
yeah,
I went in a small store here in Atlanta, and I was looking around, and they had the Old Fitz 19 on the shelf, and it was like twice secondary. It was like 2 times secondary. I was like, what? I had them pull the owner out of the back, and I was like, I told him, I said, why is it that expensive on the shelf? And he was like, I'll come down on it if you have cash. And I'm like, dude, that's not the point. Like, the point is you're scanned. Like, they had the entire Weller lineup. They had, I think they had a Parker's in there. They had the Old Fitz 19, which I have not been able to get a bottle of yet because I just refused to pay secondary for it. And then a couple other like really nice bottles. Like, they had whatever the Angel's Envy, like green box thing. I don't know what that is, but I know it's like super allocated because I see it on my secondary pages from time to time. And they had that on the shelf. I'm like, dude, you like Weller Full Proof was like $450. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Gross.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway,
what's and what's the like? So excluding potentially that Four Roses Limited, what's the best steal you would say you've ever gotten?
So best steal I've ever had was in Louisiana. I was down there visiting some buddies from college, and we went in this little tiny liquor store in like this little podunk town, and it was me and one of my best friends. And we walk in, and they're kind of like, "Hey, how are you?" It's like this old like country couple. Like, "Are you looking for anything special?" And I was like,
"Sure,
just looking, for good bourbon." And they're like,
"I'm so excited to hear this."
They're like, "Well, we don't have anything on the shelf, or we don't have anything right now." And so we're like, "Okay." And so we just kind of looked around and we come to the back corner, and on the very top shelf, there's 2 bottles of Thomas Handy sitting on the shelf. And I guess if you want to get into specifics, she was right. They didn't have any good bourbon on the shelf because technically it's a rye. But she had 2 bottles of Thomas Handy on the shelf at MSRP. I bought it for $107 after.
You bought both, right?
My buddy bought the other one. I bought one. He bought the other one.
I would have stabbed him. Wow. I would have taken both.
Thomas Handy's not that good. It's not that good to stab your friend over.
Apparently, this year's Thomas Handy is outstanding. I have not had it. One of my buddies, the buddy that got his name's Taylor. He's the one that got the CYPB off the Stag Junior. He got a pour of it. I can't remember where he was, but I think maybe in Knoxville somewhere, a restaurant had it, and he got a pour of it. Said it was unbelievable. But I still have yet to crack the Handy that I found. It was this time last year.
That's funny.
In Louisiana,
right next to the Four Roses Limited, that's right down the road. There's also a Thomas Handy for $500.
Really?
Right next to each other.
That's
$500.
I guess technically that's still under secondary.
The cheapest I've ever seen a BTAC.
I think on secondary.
Mm-hmm.
The cheapest I've ever seen a BTAC. I saw a George T. Stag for $2.99.
Did you buy it? Surely.
Nope.
Oh, like this one?
You mean the one that's for the Bourbon Ball that you just love to just break out on podcast?
Why?
Yep.
Why did you not buy it?
Didn't want to spend it. I bought a.
It's tough.
I bought 2 bottles.
That's my feeling. That hurts.
Hold on though. I bought 2 bottles of Mitker's Barrel Strength Rye, which I think is amazing for MSRP. So I bought those instead.
Their 10-year rye is really good. I'm excited to try their 10-year bourbon that they're coming out with this year. Yeah.
Yep. Which are also going to be donated to us to the Bourbon Ball. Yeah.
I already got them both. I've got the 2023 rye and 2023 bourbon 10-year Mitker's that Mitker's donated for the Bourbon Ball this year.
That's awesome.
Both in my possession already.
Very nice.
You know how hard it is to not crack those open and not crack this George T. Stag? It's like, I want to drink so bad.
I'm glad you're not here, Connor. I'm glad you're not here, Connor, because there would probably be enough whiskey drank at some point where we'd really think about it.
We would open it and then we just bid on it ourselves, so we didn't have to.
It's okay.
Feel bad.
Yeah, $500. Here you go.
That's funny.
$500, Connor. You want to drink the whole fucking bottle? Sure.
Yeah.
You can edit this part out. I've probably got like 10-ish minutes left, if that's cool, y'all.
No, we're done.
Yeah, no, we're about to.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
This, yeah.
I just wanted to.
We're good.
Make you guys aware.
Yep. Blake, tell everyone where they can follow you and keep up with your career.
Yeah, I'm. It's super confusing right now. On Twitter, it's Blake Ferguson 44. I have to reach out to the Instagram people because my Instagram is Blake Ferguson 50, but I'm trying to update it to my new number that I've had for 2 years now. But Blake Ferguson 50 on Instagram, Blake Ferguson 44 on Twitter, and then I'm on TikTok as well. I think it's B Ferguson 50 there.
Oh, really? I'm about to give you a follow.
But yeah, so that's I haven't done admittedly as much TikToking in the last probably year or so, but I'm getting ready to pump some more content out there as well. Might throw some bourbon content on there too, and just just see how the algorithm likes those videos.
Get Tyreek to do a little dance, or get Jalen to do the waddle, and you'll be good.
Exactly. That'll hit the For You page quick.
Quick. Blake, man, thanks for joining us. This has been really fun. Listen, good luck this season. And that's selfishly for me, because I've been a Dolphins fan longer than you have. I've been a Dolphins fan longer than you've been a Dolphins player. And so, look, you might be on the team. I think I'm more invested than you are. Hey, man, I got 37 years in this shit.
You do have a lot of skin in the game when it comes to Dolphins fandom. So I do appreciate it. And our fans are cool, because our fans have been fans for a long time, because admittedly the Dolphins have not been great up until recently.
Shocker. Yeah. So thank you for rubbing that in.
The Dolphins fans are like either like Marino fans or like way back to the 72 team fans. And so we're on a mission to make a new batch of Miami Dolphin fans in the next year or two. So,
and admittedly, I will be secretly rooting for the Dolphins this year too.
I cannot wait.
Giants Dolphins Super Bowl. Let's go.
I cannot. Fuck the Giants. The only thing the Giants did that is positive is they stopped the Patriots twice from winning the Super Bowl, and that's why I love Eli Manning.
See, I grew up a Colts fan. Small tangent. I grew up a Colts fan because my parents both went to Tennessee. We were big Peyton Manning fans. So we loathed the Patriots, like growing up. We were like, no way, because it was Manning, Brady, they were the best in the league. Every time Brady would go to the Super Bowl, we were just pulling for whoever it was. And so
I had a rooting for Satan over the fucking Patriots, by the way.
Plaxico Burress can shoot himself in the leg. But the freaking Giants team that stopped
David Tyree is a G.
That's right. That the team that stopped and Eli Manning getting out. I don't remember what exactly happened, but him getting out of that sack in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
just like
David Tyree in the one-handed catch.
Yes,
I had
the same play.
Yeah, it was the same play, and I think it was like the first year they had like review. Even like I had 103-degree fever. And I was jacked. I did not want those fuckers to win. Oh my God.
Yeah. So
might be top 5 Super Bowl of all time.
I do have a small place in my heart for the New York Giants. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that publicly, but
every Dolphins fan does. It's fine.
If you want to become a Dolphins fan, we will gladly accept you, considering your dad is such a big fan.
It's true.
Who knows? Maybe I'll name my next dog. I've got 2 dogs, both sleeping right here right now. Maybe I'll name my next dog Zonka after your dad.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, Blake, I cannot wait to A, watch you lift the Super Bowl trophy, B, do it in person, and C, I don't know, maybe after you win it, come out and drink with you after it happens. Because, and I promise you, if you get to the Super Bowl, I will be there.
Let's go. That sounds amazing, number one. And number two, we did a Pappy 15 for my first playoff appearance. Like, that was our celebration model.
Nice.
The first time making the playoffs. So Super Bowl, like, we got to come.
I will find something.
Whether it's William LaRue Weller, whether it's freaking, I don't know what it's going to be, but
I will get Terry Bradshaw to come do some crazy thing with you since we have a relationship with them. But I will tell you just from that, and then we'll end it. I was down at my parents' house, and there's 3 generations of us watching that playoff game. That's all you got to know about where we're at.
That's awesome. I love that.
It was great, man. Blake, thanks so much for listening. Go fucking Dolphins. I'm so excited. I can't wait for the season. And remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world.